Peter Michael Gardner shows his passport and boards a plane. What was supposed to be a flight to his paradise retirement destination has now turned into a nightmare. Hey, welcome back to Codger's Corner. My name is Norm. Today we'll explore the hidden crisis of expats in the Philippines. A small fraction of the thousands that move to the Philippines will become impoverished through scams, accidents, and the choices they make. Through these brief stories and more, you will discover the dark side of expat life in the Philippines. The case of Peter Michael Gardner, a Swedish national. His story sheds light on the dark underbelly of online romance scams targeting foreigners. Peter fell victim to a woman named Eva from Cebu. She would ask for money from Peter, pretending to be single. In total, Peter had lent her over 292,000 pesos. When Peter discovered the truth that Eva was married with 2 children, he flew to Manila and sought the help from a radio program. This public confrontation led to him getting 60,000 pesos paid back to him and for him to receive small monthly payments. He has threatened to file a case against her if she stops the payments. A vlogger walking the streets of Manila comes across a homeless man sitting in the shade. Once hopeful and trusting, Michael's story is a cautionary tale of misplaced faith. When Michael was approached and asked what led to his situation, he said he was abandoned by the people he stayed with. Those he gave money to now refused to pay him back or even help him. James Gardner. James Gardner's story is one of love turned to desperation. Here is an American man who married a Filipina he met online. James now finds himself in dire straits. James wanders the streets begging for food. He's trying to find work so he can earn enough money to take his child and him back home to the US. Following are several unnamed individuals, each representing a different facet of expat homelessness. A man from New York, once accustomed to one of the world's toughest cities, is now reduced to eating on Manila's sidewalks. This determined young man, despite his challenging circumstances, is seen panhandling in hopes that his embassy can assist him in getting home. Here is another unidentified man using a Bible as a prop while begging, showcasing the desperate measures some take to survive. He is counting on the religious compassion of others to help him out of his situation. William Joseph Brown. William's story is one of betrayal that played out on public radio. His Filipina bride ran away right after their wedding. It turns out that his wife had a Filipina lesbian girlfriend, and the money she received from William she shared with her girlfriend. William's public appeal to find his wife, Kathleen Kate Brown, ended in further heartbreak. When given the choice, she chose to stay with her girlfriend.
Did you have a honeymoon?
No, because I was only here 2 days.
So nothing happened to you yet, you and her? Like you didn't have
honeymoon?
any honeymoon and sex?
No. Would you come back to me?
I want you back. I don't love him.
Expat John. John's tale is one of both caution and hope. Arriving in the Philippines at 58 with $30,000, he had hoped it would last him 4 years until his pension kicked in. He fell in love with a young Filipina woman, and together they built a life. They welcomed twin daughters, constructed a home for their family, and made some business investments. However, John's money ran out much faster than expected. The place where he was living soon became a toxic environment for him and his family. With barely any food in his home, he and his children's health declined. John's story could have ended in tragedy, but thanks to the kindness of fellow expats, they came together to get his children medical attention and assisted him in finding a place for his family to live while he returned to the US to work. Now 2 years later, he's back in the Philippines with his family and living off his pension. David. David's case highlights the importance of maintaining financial ties with one's home country. After contracting a flesh-eating disease, Dave found himself in a precarious situation. Surgery had taken its toll on his financial situation, and at some point he had lost access to his money back in the US. David's story underscores the need for expats to give power of attorney to someone that they trust in their birth country to manage finances in case of emergencies. Greg from the UK shares a harrowing account of how quickly fortunes can change. He sold off all his possessions, vehicles, and with 22 million pesos moved to the Philippines. Greg's story involves getting involved with a girl whose family had drug addictions. After having a serious motorcycle accident and being released from the hospital, he was sent back to his girlfriend's home to convalesce. Being in traction, he endured physical and emotional assault at her and her family's hands. After that, he moved to another location and lost everything to Hurricane Yolanda. Soon he was found living on the street. Despite these setbacks, a vlogger encountered him and successfully found work for him on a farm, offering a glimmer of hope to an otherwise tragic tale. Henry, a German expat, presents a stark warning about financial management. He inherited over $1 million from his grandfather's estate and moved to the Philippines. Of course, like many people who win the lottery, they end up spending all their money. In Henry's case, he spent his money bailing out his wife's family members when they got in trouble, as well as making some bad investments and one in a commercial bake shop. After losing all his money and found wandering the streets, a policeman saw him, and soon he had a job paying minimum wage. After that job, he found another that paid 40,000 pesos a month, translating for a Canadian businessman. He has since lost that job and is now looking for work. Robert's story is shrouded in mystery. Claiming to be framed by another teacher he worked with resulted in him getting fired.
My name is Robert.
Alright.
I'm stranded here in the Philippines.
Okay.
Because a lady framed me up.
Robert, a U.S. citizen, declines offers to help to return to the U.S., saying that his home is in Thailand. His refusal to accept help raises questions about the reasons that some expats choose to remain in their dire situations. Ken, an elderly Welsh expat, was found thin and frail walking on the street outside of a detention center where he was living. When he arrived to the Philippines, he met a young lady. She had health issues and used his money to cover the costs. She broke up with him as soon as she got out of the hospital. He lost his pension during COVID due to him not receiving his mail. After the breakup, he was invited to rent a room with a pastor and the pastor's wife. They never shared their food with him, even though they knew he was starving. Ken gave the pastor a promissory note to pay the pastor 49,000 pesos in back rent and was soon after kicked out without his belongings. His rescue came through the efforts of Derek, a philanthropist. With a lot of hard work on Derek's side, he managed to repatriate Ken. Christopher Patrick, a UK citizen, was found living on the streets of Manila. He was kicked out of his home by his girl and sits on these steps begging for money. A passing blogger offered to help out Christopher. However, the blogger never gave an update on Christopher's situation. For the majority of expats who are facing homelessness or are now living on the streets, most have an out. Most could be repatriated back to their country if they go to the consulate for help. Expats that don't take this route are more likely running away from the law, debts, death threats, civil unrest from back home. Those that go through the process of being repatriated despite the difficult process are the lucky ones. The real tragedy here are the homeless locals who have lost everything. These individuals face a bleak future with no safety net. They exist on the razor's edge of survival, counting on the generosity of passers-by to toss them enough pesos to help them get through another day. While some of you might feel sorry for them, the reality is they need more than your sympathy.